The Gospel and readings for the third Sunday of Easter on the 19th of April, 2026. As read from the New American Bible, Revised Edition. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Luke.
That very day, the first day of the week, 2 of Jesus' disciples were going to a village 7 miles from Jerusalem called Emmaus, and they were conversing about all the things that had occurred. And it happened that while they were conversing and debating, Jesus himself drew near and walked with them, but their eyes were prevented from recognizing him. He asked them, "What are you discussing as you walk along?" They stopped, looking downcast. One of them, named Cleopas, said to him in reply, "Are you the only visitor to Jerusalem who does not know of the things that have taken place there in these days?" And he replied to them, "What sort of things?" They said to him, "The things that happened to Jesus the Nazarene, who was a prophet mighty in deed and word before God and all the people. How our chief priests and rulers both handed him over to a sentence of death and crucified him. But we were hoping that he would be the one to redeem Israel. And besides all this, it is now the 3rd day since this took place. Some women from our group, however, have astounded us. They were at the tomb early in the morning and did not find his body. They came back and reported that they had indeed seen a vision of angels who announced that he was alive. Then some of those with us went to the tomb and found things just as the women had described. But him they did not see." And he said to them, "Oh, how foolish you are! How slow of heart to believe all that the prophets spoke! Was it not necessary that the Christ should suffer these things and enter into his glory?" Then, beginning with Moses and all the prophets, he interpreted to them what referred to him in all the scriptures. As they approached the village to which they were going, he gave the impression that he was going on farther. But they urged him, "Stay with us, for it is nearly evening and the day is almost over." So he went in to stay with them. And it happened that while he was with them at table, he took bread, said the blessing, broke it, and gave it to them. With that, their eyes were opened, and they recognized him. But he vanished from their sight. Then they said to each other, "Were not our hearts burning within us while he spoke to us on the way and opened the scriptures to us?" So they set out at once and returned to Jerusalem, where they found gathered together the 11 and those with them who were saying, "The Lord has truly been raised and has appeared to Simon." Then the 2 recounted what had taken place on the way, and how he was made known to them in the breaking of bread.
The Gospel of the Lord. A reading from the Acts of the Apostles.
Then Peter stood up with the 11, raised his voice, and proclaimed, "You who are Jews, indeed all of you staying in Jerusalem, let this be known to you, and listen to my words. You who are Israelites, hear these words. Jesus the Nazarene was a man commended to you by God with mighty deeds, wonders, and signs, which God worked through him in your midst, as you yourselves know. This man, delivered up by the set plan and foreknowledge of God, you killed, using lawless men to crucify him. But God raised him up, releasing him from the throes of death, because it was impossible for him to be held by it. For David says of him, I saw the Lord ever before me, With him at my right hand, I shall not be disturbed. Therefore my heart has been glad, and my tongue has exulted. My flesh too will dwell in hope, because you will not abandon my soul to the netherworld, nor will you suffer your Holy One to see corruption. You have made known to me the paths of life. You will fill me with joy in your presence. My brothers, one can confidently say to you about the patriarch David that he died and was buried, and his tomb is in our midst to this day. But since he was a prophet and knew that God had sworn an oath to him that he would set one of his descendants upon his throne, he foresaw and spoke of the resurrection of the Christ, that neither was he abandoned to the netherworld, nor did his flesh see corruption. God raised this Jesus. Of this we are all witnesses. Exalted at the right hand of God, he received the promise of the Holy Spirit from the Father, and poured him forth as you see and hear.
The Word of the Lord. A reading from the first letter of St. Peter.
If you invoke as Father him who judges impartially according to each one's works, conduct yourselves with reverence during the time of your sojourning, realizing that you were ransomed from your futile conduct, handed on by your ancestors, not with perishable things like silver or gold, but with the precious blood of Christ, as of a spotless, unblemished lamb. He was known before the foundation of the world, but revealed in the final time for you, who through him believe in God, who raised him from the dead and gave him glory, so that your faith and hope are in God.
The Word of the Lord. This gospel is such a beautiful reminder that Jesus often comes to us when we least expect him. The two disciples are walking away from Jerusalem, carrying sadness, confusion, and disappointment. In their minds, everything that had happened to Jesus seemed like the end. They had hoped, they had believed, and now they were trying to make sense of heartbreak. And honestly, that feels very familiar. There are moments in life when we also walk along carrying disappointment. Maybe it is a prayer that seemed unanswered. Maybe it is a door that closed. Maybe it is grief, confusion, or a season where God feels far away. We keep moving, we keep talking, we keep trying to understand, but inside we feel downcast, just like those two disciples on the road to Emmaus. And yet, this gospel shows us something deeply comforting. Jesus comes near. He does not wait for them to have everything figured out. He does not wait until their faith is strong again. He comes right into their confusion and begins walking with them. I think that is one of the most encouraging truths in this passage. Even when we do not recognize him, Jesus is still near. Even when our hearts are heavy, he is still walking beside us. Even when we are disappointed, confused, or spiritually tired, he has not abandoned us. The disciples speak honestly about their pain. They tell him, "We were hoping." That is such a human sentence. We were hoping this relationship would work. We were hoping for healing. We were hoping life would turn out differently. We were hoping God would act sooner. And Jesus does not reject their honesty. He listens. Then he begins opening the scriptures to them, helping them see that God was still at work, even in what looked like defeat. Sometimes that is what we need too. Not always a quick fix, not always an instant answer, but a deeper understanding that God is still working in the middle of what we do not understand. The cross was not the end. And the hard things we face are not necessarily the end of our story either. Then comes that beautiful moment when they invite him in. Stay with us. That is such a simple prayer, but such a powerful one. Stay with us in the evening of our confusion. Stay with us in our fear. Stay with us in our loneliness. Stay with us when the day feels almost over. And Jesus accepts the invitation. At the table, he takes bread, blesses it, breaks it, and gives it to them. And suddenly their eyes are opened. They recognize him. The one who had been with them all along is finally made known to them. That is a powerful lesson for us. Sometimes we only recognize the presence of God after the journey, when we look back and realize he was there the whole time. He was there in the conversation. He was there in the sorrow. He was there in the waiting. He was there on the road. And once they recognize him, everything changes. The same men who were tired and downcast suddenly return to Jerusalem with joy. An encounter with the risen Christ turns sorrow into witness. It turns confusion into clarity. It turns tired hearts into burning hearts. Maybe that is the invitation of this gospel for us today. To ask Jesus to walk with us, to stay with us, and to open our eyes. Because he is still the same Lord who comes near to the discouraged, who speaks peace to the confused, and who reveals himself to those who seek him. So wherever you are in your own Emmaus journey today, do not lose heart. Jesus is closer than you think. He is walking beside you. And in his time, he will open your eyes too. If you enjoyed today's message, leaving a like, a comment, or subscribing would really help support the channel. Thank you so much for being here. Goodbye and take care.